When I was in college in 1976 at the University of Chicago, if we had been told to wear masks, quarantine, eat in dining halls that were arranged in inhuman ways, we would have burnt every one of the 55,000 signs on the quad the next day. My students all conformed and complied. They've been primed and groomed. I don't recognize them as Americans in the way I was an American in 1976. The task of cultural renewal is much more difficult than what you're making it sound.
Well, I think whatever our famous quote from JFK had it. We do these things not because they're easy, but because they are hard. And so I don't mean to make light of the task that's ahead of us. I wouldn't have stepped down from a comfortable position of a well-endowed company that I had built and grown to focus on the efforts that I am as an author and activist now if I didn't think that it actually took real effort from real Americans making real sacrifices to save a country that is worth saving. And I do think that's the position that we're in. We're the equivalent of an identity crisis at the end of the 20-teens, much as we were, I believe, an identity crisis at the end of the 1970s, when many Americans may have felt the same way back in the late 70s, down to not only the economic conditions, but the absence of a shared national identity that it took the selective pressure of times that ultimately are as dark as they were back then to create the conditions for the rise of leaders like one of my heroes, Ronald Reagan, who I described earlier, that ultimately restored that national identity with a vengeance. I'm with you that it's not going to happen naturally. This isn't just a moment where which I sometimes find in armchair conversation, it's as though it's a law of physics. The pendulum's going to naturally swing back because it always has. It only has because there were brave Americans who were willing to step up and make sacrifices needed to do it. I think that if the 2010s were that decade of celebrating our diversity ad nauseum, and I am with you nauseated over not only that religion but the many others that have accompanied it, then I think the 2020s can still be the decade of reviving those few values that define what it does mean to be American. I don't mean to make it sound easy. I think it's simple in that it's not hard. It's simple in that it's not complex, I should say, but it is hard in that it's not easy. So if I made it sound simple rather than complex, it's because I do believe it's simple. But that doesn't mean that I think it's easy. I think it's going to be hard, and I think it's going to involve real sacrifice. And I hope each of us can play our small role and make our own small sacrifices in whatever way we can.